landforms and more on those bridges? Stay tuned and all will be revealed. Good afternoon everyone and welcome back to Piccadilly. This was the site you saw at the end of the last video. So I'm going to get this bridge straightened out, get it glued together, get it painted, and then we can move on to some scenics. So there we are so far. As you can see now, I've straightened up the bridge. So it actually looks like it's part of the same unit now, as opposed to it sort of flopping off to the far side. I've had to crop back these posts, both sides. It's still just placed, it's not glued in any way, it's literally just placed. All the parts are placed on top of each other. But as I said, I've cut back these two walls to accommodate the girders going in between them. I've put some stops. You could probably just about make that one out just there. Another one just there. So they're locators, so that this has got them so that it locates that way and it literally just slots into place. Right, there it is. That's the bridge completed and in position. It's all glued now and everything's all lined up. Just very briefly then, I went over the whole bridge with a very white wash just to make the paint look as if it's very faded, and then 3 rust coloured tones. The first one again was very thin to create streaks going down the side of the bridge. The second one was a darker one which you blob into the top corners because water hangs there, and also the bottom sills. And then finally an orangey coloured rust just to highlight varying parts of it and give it a little bit more interest. Maybe slightly more unusual, but might be thought interesting to see what it's like underneath there. That's what you'd see if you walked underneath the bridge. Okay. Now time to do the river. The River Goyt is quite low down, as you'll see in the picture, and there is a weir around about this area here, so it needs to be about that deep. Well, the board itself is 18mm, as you can see there, so effectively I do need to remove this whole thing. So how am I going to do that? Well, I could take the board out, but that's a big job, because not only do I have to slide back all the fish plates, every single side, all down that side as well, to get the board out. I've got to remove all of that, and also disconnect wiring underneath here, and so on and so on. I'm looking at a massive job to do that. Now, secondly, I could use a jigsaw. Now, they do have a blade about that long. Now, gratefully, there is nothing underneath this area here, so that's a possibility. And I could tape back any stray wires, that might work. But also, I've gone ahead and bought this, which is a small head for the Dremel, and I could use that to route out the area or cut out the area. Just by using the smaller head and the Dremel cutters there. There's some side routing cutters in there. So again, I've got some choices to make. Blimey, that was a feat, I'll tell you. So you can see now, obviously the hole is already cut out now, but these were the beams that were causing the problem. So if I just take you down, and you can see from under there, obviously it's these two just there. So obviously I could use the jigsaw for most of it and make sure the wires were firmly out of the way, and then this bit, it was using the Dremel. Now I've obviously taken it out now and packed it all away, and I thought, oh, I should do a little bit of a video, but that's the way it goes sometimes. I'm not setting it all up again. But these are the bits you get. Now you get 2 of those and 1 of those, and the idea, you can see how thin that is. That's about 3mm. Now, the idea of going through 18 mil in one go was just impossible. I set it to about 5, thinking I could do it in about 3 or 4 passes. It wasn't having any of it, so I took it back to about 3 and then did around about 8 passes, give or take. And just a case of moving it along little bit by little bit by little bit, like that, all the way along. But the other thing I did do was daisy chain a load of holes, about 3 mil holes with the drill, all the way through down to this point. And as soon as I hit that, I stopped, obviously, and then I was able to go in further with the Dremel and then cut it out. So I'm quite relieved that it's done. It's out. Now, what I do want to do a little bit now is to pare back with a chisel, just to soften that edge just ever so slightly, because it is a little bit harsh, and just tidy it up a little bit, I think. And then we'll move in with this baseboard bit, which I shall glue and screw up from underneath, and then we can pack it with silicone or something and make sure it's nice and watertight. Okay, catch you shortly. Welcome back. So things seem to be moving on a little bit of a pace now. So obviously the slot was cut out ready for the river goit, and I put this board in underneath, which I hot glued in, because obviously that's going to help with sealing up the hole, and all down here, all around here, as you can see. And then this board here is the same construction as what I use for the backboards, spinning you around a little bit. This. So in other words, 3 pieces of 2 mil grey board glued together. So I took a piece out of an older board which has been kicking about for a little while, and then glued that in, because remember there is a weir here. So I did need to alter the levels, and I will need to do the one on that one over there where the mill is. So that's to come, and that'll be probably either in a month or so, or I might even leave it till the summer holidays. We never know, but it will be done this year, I promise you that. That's all sorted out, and then I hot glued all around the edge of that as well. And then, as you can probably make out from the creaminess of it, that I've then put in some matte varnish all around there, and that's not quite gone off yet. That's been an hour and a half. I did just sort of plonk it on quite thick, so it will dry eventually, but it might take a little while. Now, next job, hence the paper here. I'm now going to think about this landform section just here, because the area, as you can appreciate, needs to be removable. So my first job is to cut out a floor plan and then create an outline for the landscape, if you want, for want of a better phrase, the shape that the hill is going to take, because there is quite a steep bank coming in here which is literally smothered with foliage. And then from here, because obviously that one will come to a bit of a stop, this one will probably come up like that anyway and start sloping up again, because we've got to go through a tunnel, which is going to be more or less where this is. It's this link line where the tunnel will be. So I've obviously got to have it coming up, but I can have it going almost to flat and having that one sort of, I don't know, we'll see how it goes. I could bring that one in and just slope it off like that, and then that would indicate that the land has gone in for the river, and the river's been cut out because of the land. So I'll get that done and get the construction built, and I'll come back and show you shortly. Welcome back. I thought I'd better show you what I've been up to, because I've done quite a bit before we go on too much further anyway. So you can see the landforms are now basically in. Just pan you around up to that point there. I still need to finish off this little bit here where these spines, as you can see, these spines that I normally put in, but everything is removable, and as you can see, none of it is fixed or glued down, and that's done deliberately, because if I need to gain access to the window or for any other reason, then it just helps to dismantle things if I need to quickly. or fairly quickly anyway. But as you can see there, this construction has basically been follow the basic shapes of the boards and the tracks, and then put these triangle pieces in all the way around, and then I've covered that initially with masking tape. That will then be done over with papier mache on all of the sides. Okay, now this bit here, I've created a tunnel portal, which I'm hoping is looking a little bit more fitting for the area. It is a link line for the main line, if you like. So hence me going for something a little bit more grand, if you like. But I'll be honest with you, I always maintain the idea that if there's a tunnel there, it's because it can't be dug out and you have to dig through. Now, I think there's going to have to be a little bit of imagination born here. I have seen tunnels with brick sides, and I was going to do that with this, but I thought it might be just easier to have like a rocky bank side type thing, and grasses, that sort of stuff. I might even flatten that down a little bit. We'll see. Just to smooth it off a little bit more. I don't know at the moment, but it's definitely getting there, bit by bit by bit. This will all be covered in brick papers, and I just painted these little bits just to help cover up the bits that are not going to be covered with a brick paper. So that should make it a little bit easier to do once I get that far, because painting the rails on with the brick papers in place could be a little bit more difficult. All right, so hence that. But you know, bit by bit by bit by bit, it's getting there. Right, I'll get this covered with masking tape, and I'll catch you later. Right, things continue to move on. As you can see, I've now done some preparation ready for this section when I do that, maybe next year. But it also means that I've sort of created the profile of this hill, which is what I needed to know for when I do the viaduct. And the viaduct goes here, as you can see. Yes, I have painted those and put some stones in the river. But let's have a look at the viaduct now, because it has changed in the process. So let's see what I've been up to for that. Right, well, the profile is changed somewhat. As you can see, I've now got that unit in there. Now I built that actually in there, so that's already formed as part of the bridge. So this part front here will be painted black, and then foliage will go on top of there. But you can also see what's going on at the back there. So this will go against that black section just there. Focus. And that will then allow me to create a profile inside there ready for the hill. Now I've made this unit, and I have to make another one to go in there. Now that will just slide in, as will the one next to it. You can get the idea of where I'm going with this now. So I'm going to start making that one, and then I shall get it all papier mache'd and primed, and then ready for some detailing grasses and static grasses and all sorts of stuff like that, and bushes and weeds and etc, etc. Okay, catch you later. Welcome back. So there we are. That's what I'm done for this week. Just give you a bit of a pan round, and then we'll have a little chat about what has been achieved. So I'll start with this end. So you can see all the landforms are now in, and they've been based with a brown colour, and the edge has been painted black, which I'll refer to a bit later on. So all of this now, you can see this bank has gone in, and that gently flows down. I will probably put in another little bit there, which will be stuck to the baseboard. Obviously, this needs to be able to come out, and I think it would just be easier to have another bit in there. But I'll do that as a ballast, or, you know, I'll start putting the scenery on. But that it's coming on nicely. Oh, and I've painted this purely for now, really, to be honest. It will be ballasted very soon, but you know, just to give it a dark and downed look. Then we've got this tunnel portal, which I showed you in an earlier clip, but it's now been covered with brick papers. It's not finished yet. It needs weathering down, but that has been matte varnished, and also I've put in the wall on the opposite side. Now please understand that this whole side does look a complete site and will need a lot of sorting out, and I've just realized that you can see this lip, which is obviously the top of that hill just there, or the bottom of it I should say. But again, it will all be sorted out, very easily done. I can put something on top of this bit and just have it hang down ever so slightly and everything will be fine. But this area is not this year. Well, at least at the moment it's not anyway. So you can see now coming round the corner, coming up towards the River Goyt. Now this area here, I wanted it to be quite open, and I think it's important really. A lot of the layout, if I just pan you back, a lot of the layout is quite sort of tight and claustrophobic. There's not a lot of space down there. I mean, this bit here, we're talking about 4 inches, even though I tried to paint the back scene as if it's going off into the distance and giving miles and miles and miles of space. And yeah, it kind of works, but, well, I think it does. But the reality of it is, you know, 4 inches, and it probably goes up to a maximum of about 7, 8 there. But that's not that big an area. So to create a little bit of space on the layout, even as small area as it is, I feel is quite important. So that's what that will be. I will try, although there will be foliage along here, I'll try and keep it quite low in varying places. Not to say that there won't be the odd slightly taller one, but I want the impression of space. I want it to go off into the distance, and the River Goyt will go off and just be sort of painted off kind of like that. So you'll see it disappear, but you know, I want that to be a big open view, so there will be a bit of sky on there. This area here does build with foliage, and there's a lot of foliage, particularly as we get towards here. So obviously that will just build and increase in magnitude, if you like. You can see now as we go through this area, the River Goyt does disappear around a corner, and the idea of that is then that I put a large bush sort of overhanging in this area here, trees and bushes around this area, and will give the impression the river just disappears. If I take you over, you can see that it actually just goes to a point. So there will be trees all the way down here, and so on in this big triangle area. Just to mention it, that clip is quite integral to the structure of the layout, as you can appreciate. So I'm not going to take it out, but what I will do when the time's right is to put a building over it. I think that's the easiest solution. So if you've got any ideas what sort of building it should be, just say, but please understand that won't be done anytime soon. You'll also notice I've started putting in the riverbed. Now that is basically sand, and then some ballast which you use for the track, double O gauge ballast at least at that. And also these white bits are bits of plaster. A year or more ago I got a hold of a rock mould which I used for other parts of the layout, and it's inevitably it makes crumbs when you break bits up, so I kept all of that and thought it'd be quite nice for this. So once that's dried, because it's been glued in, it will be varnished to seal it up a bit more, and then I'll probably spray over it to make it look more, or to darken it up a bit and give the impression of depth, particularly in this area. I mean, you can see how deep that is just there compared to this bit, and there is going to be a weir there. There is a step, so that'll be ready for the weir, which I'll do later in the year, maybe in the summer holiday, that type of thing. Anyway, the track's come around now, and you can see the bridges. So obviously that bridge was completed at the beginning of the video, and obviously that one last week. And then we're on to the viaduct. Now, I've gone through a few idea changes with regard to this. And the idea being that that remains open and you can see through it. And if you look through that one, you can also see that that held there will tie up quite nicely. It's a very similar shape, but all of this, as you know, comes off. Now, that bit is sealed to the bridge, and these bits will be glued in eventually, but they are separate units at the moment, purely to make it easier to foliage them up. That's quite a bigger space, so I can easily get into these, but particularly this one, I mean, how do I flock in there? So that's the reason why it's made to come out. I did say in a previous clip this was quite hard to put in and get out, and it is, I'm not joking. But I thought for this part of the video, I thought it'd be better if I could get it in, and I'll get it out somehow. I will get it, even a big long spatula will get it out, I'm sure it will. But I was originally going to, these parts are painted black, and then I was originally just going to leave these parts, these pillars, exposed. But then I thought of having the idea of just painting another piece of this stuff, the thick board that I've used for backboards, and that's blue tacked on. And I kind of like that the fact that not only does this black border carry on around the layout, but it gives the impression that there is something else. It does go on, it doesn't just stop. So anyway, as you can appreciate, this board now is also coming around. And I kind of like the idea that this black sort of, or the foliage overhangs a little bit. And it will certainly be an awful lot more safer for me to move around. If I need to put in a piece of perspex, I can, and I can slip it down in there. That's screwed on, so there will be a gap, if need be, down there. Okay, but that butts up nicely to this area here. Now, do let me know what you think. I'm inclined to paint this pillar black so that the fascia carries on, but because it does look a bit odd having this bit just sort of left like that, so that's why I'm inclined, and I'm inclined to paint it all up, and including the top section there, just this side, not the top, and this side, not the far side, because obviously that would be odd for the road side of it. But yeah, that's all part of it now. So I'm quite pleased with the way that's coming along, and obviously ready for foliage now. So I will be starting to crack on with that in the next video. Okay. Anyway, you may have realised that videos over the last little while have been every 2 weeks. It's purely because I've not been able to do anything like as much as I have done in the past. So we'll see how it goes. If I get this done and there's enough time, I'll put a video out next week. If I can't, it'll be in another 2 weeks, and probably there on in for a little while. All right, anyway, you just take care of yourself, and I'll speak to you very, very soon here on Piccadilly. Bye for now.